Okay, stop. I have to go to the bathroom.
I like this music.
Thanks. Hello again to everyone listening out there in Cyberland, and welcome back to another episode of your Slightly Mighty podcast, the local podcast dedicated to the many musical artists, venue owners, and event promoters who contribute their time and energy to Charleston's vibrant and growing music scene. My name is Hop, your humble host and facilitator. For returning listeners, I'd like to say thank you to all your advice and critiques. Please keep sending those along to hopturn@gmail.com. And don't forget that if you like the show, please like, follow, subscribe, share, and all the other things you can do to help spread the word around as you see fit. While I'm not doing this for money, I do want our efforts here to be shared with as many people in our community as possible. So let's get down to it. Joining me today as guests are two rock-solid pillars of Charleston's local music community that should be known to pretty much everyone listening to the show. John Picard is a multi-genre, multi-instrumentalist who's carved out a special niche for himself as the backbone of many bands around the area. And Hans Wenzel is one of Charleston's best singers and guitarists. He performs solo all over town in many groups, and he can be heard sharing his gifts with all kinds of bands and all kinds of genres everywhere you go. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Where do you guys want to begin? How far back do you want to go?
Back to
moving to Charleston. Are you? I know that you moved here. You said 10 years ago. When did you come to Charleston, John?
Officially, probably in 98.
98, and then you came in. Where'd you come from exactly?
Came from a place called Anderson, South Carolina.
Okay,
in the upstate.
All right. And you came here to play drums, or was there other reasons, or?
Yeah, wanted to play some music. Living in Anderson, there really wasn't much opportunity at the time. And a lot of my favorite musicians from Anderson had moved to Charleston in the mid '90s, and I just kind of wanted to gravitate towards playing full time, and Charleston at that particular time had a really vibrant music scene, with a lot of different groups, and yeah, just wanted a change of scene, and was getting in a lot of trouble up there, and just wanted to start something, maybe just start a new life down here, and worked out great so far.
Cool. Hans, what brought you here?
Well, like in 2000, we moved here in 2015, but I think the year before that, I'd been married down here in Charleston at Middleton Place Plantation in 1999. And, come and visited Charleston many, many times before that. And just, always heard what, a great music scene it was down here. And I'd been playing in upstate South Carolina where we were living for about 15 years. And, I did just about everything that you could possibly do up there. You name it. I did, progressive funk and rock and soul music and metal. And, at that point, I was just doing like covers and stuff up there, just having fun, trying to make some money. And my wife was like, I want to go move to Charleston. And I was like, okay. I couldn't do any worse down here than I was doing up there. And
but don't say that.
Well, it turned out. Actually, no. Yeah, so I was all for it. And, we moved down here, and the rest is history.
What is your current kind of like, what are you gravitating towards now? And
I guess now, just trying to scale back a little bit on playing covers and just kind of focusing on more of the artistic side of things. Doing the blues thing, and just recently joined a punk group called the Destinators, and with Operation Irie, and just trying to basically just kind of trim off the fat and, just kind of keep things interesting and ruffle as much feathers as I possibly can.
Okay, so you're really into the punk band scene now, right? Where are you guys playing at?
Well, we just played in Columbia this past week with our friends Bedlam Hour, punk group in Charleston. Or no, they're from South Carolina. They've been around since '82, I believe. And as a kid, we used to worship those guys, and they had retired for about 20 years, and they did a reunion show not too long ago. So they, I guess after the show, they were like, hey, let's put the band back together and let's, play some shows. We joined them at the Art Bar in Columbia. And then in December, January, and February, we're going to work on our EP, and then we're going to be playing a show at the Poorhouse with Ancient Orange, which is, old school.
Yeah, royalty there.
Yeah, so be able to share the stage with them is going to be a lot of fun. And then, with the Operation Irie thing, it was kind of a hobby band for a long time, but I guess now that, we've got Monsoon with us, just moved here, international reggae artist, we're just kind of taking the band a little bit more serious now, and pretty much just landed a residence gig at the Poorhouse on Sundays for the official Reggae Sunday, which has been a 30-year tradition in Charleston.
Cool.
So it's, it's great to be a part of that as well.
All right. Hans, what about you? What are you doing these days? Where can we find you?
I'm doing the cover thing. I'm kind of just in a place where, I'm just trying to do this for a living, and that's all, which is cool because it affords me a lot of time during the day, and maybe I can spend a little bit more time with my kids. And but I'm kind of just in a place where I did the 86ers for about 5 years and did the original thing and toured around, and before that I toured around and did a lot of original stuff and released some solo stuff before that. And I still have even now I have a song that I just recorded with Graham Worley.
Oh, cool.
That I'm hoping to release next year. But I'm just kind of game for whatever floats my way, like I'm happy, kind of content doing what I'm doing. And, maybe some people would be like, well, you're not really going anywhere with that. It was like, I'm where I want to be, I'm playing music professionally, and I'm making a living doing it and paying my bills and things like that. So
how's that changed actually since you started off on this path? Like, I assume you've been doing that basically since you've lived here, right? I mean, how are things different now post-pandemic, or have you noticed any changes in the last couple of years that might be?
The one change I think that's really big is places don't stay open as late as they used to. Before you would have a show that started at like 8 or 9 o'clock, and then you'd be done at like midnight or 1 in the morning. And now it's like, you're going to do like a 5 to 8 or 6 to 9 or 7 to 10, or rarely you get like an 8 to 11 that you're going to do, something like that. And I don't know why the 3-hour increment is always, it's always
don't
3 hours. It's always,
when I grew up playing, it was 10 o'clock to 3. That was your commitment.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll go later.
In the early days, though, like back in the 90s, and sometimes we wouldn't start till 12 o'clock at night and go till 4 in the morning.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So now I guess the older we get, the earlier the better.
I think everybody appreciates it, actually. So projects, though, I mean, like you have the Queen band is huge. Could you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, I've seen that band, and it was pretty amazing, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. That's been going on like 2 years now. And that kind of just sprang out of, these guys in the Metro's Tools, Mike Besta, and, really kind of more of I would guess you would say like a North Charleston sort of contingent of musicians, like a group that, I'd done like a couple of guest spots with Mike, and then he had asked me to do another one for the St. Patty's thing. It's our Park Circle. And I guess at that time, like Bohemian Rhapsody had like just come out on, for rent or Blu-ray or whatever it was. And, so it was making this resurgence. And my oldest son, who, he just loves all the same kind of music that I love, and, kind of came to it naturally in his own way. And
That's
I just
cool.
kind of helped him along the way. So I was like, Queen was really big with him at that time, and I was like, I want to do all Queen songs. Let's do 8 Queen songs, and then just snowballed from there and became like something that I never even thought it would be. But I mean, I really like that because it's super challenging.
Yeah, I bet. I can't think of anything that would be more challenging for a singer than that, really. I mean, there's comparable things, but I mean, singing Freddie Mercury's
maybe like Ronnie James Dio, something like that would be along those levels, or like Robert Plant. I mean, obviously people and I did that Zeppelin thing too when I first moved
and you did
here.
the Soundgarden thing. Did you hear that, John, by any chance, the Soundgarden show?
I got to see some of it online.
Yeah. Wow.
I would love to do that
awesome.
again. And I talked this past year about maybe doing something like that again. But the Queen thing takes up really kind of takes up a lot of time. We try to rehearse once a week.
Oh, cool.
And there's 32 something songs in that list, and a lot of places are like, well, can you play like 3 hours? And we're like, no.
3 hours of Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, I'm like, we can barely do 2. And it's like but when we first started, we were doing 2 plus hours without a break at all. So yeah, it's really, but yeah, I like doing that. I kind of like where I'm at, and
Well, let me shift your gears then.
Yeah.
To something that you just kind of touched on there. Longevity. I'm not trying to say that we're all a bunch of old guys, but we're also not a bunch of young guys here. Myself included, obviously. How would you recommend having a long career in music in this town?
Be cool, calm, and collective, first and foremost. Chase the art, then the money will chase the art. Chase, be as creative as you can, be as versatile as you can. Listen to all music. Don't just pigeonhole yourself into one genre. Get as much rest as you can. Keep your nose clean. Shake as many hands as you possibly can. Just, listen to all different kinds of music, and just, versatility, and be on time, to your gigs or whatnot. Make sure you have a good attitude. Make sure you have good gear, stuff like that. I mean, it all adds up, and then you could be able to, play music as long as you can get away with it, as long as you can still stand up and, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like a lot of that was directed at me, and I took it personally. I'm hurt. No, but yeah, I mean, I agree with everything John said there, but it also don't let other people pigeonhole you. Like a lot of times I get pigeonholed as this guy who can only do rock and classic rock, or just have that rock and roll voice. But John can attest that, I play all kinds of different songs, and I'm able to just fit into all kinds of different genres. But, especially for like the younger musicians, like, don't sell yourself short, but also don't think that you're too big for anything, or you're too good for anything, because you'll find out very quickly that there's somebody right behind you.
Always somebody better or faster or quicker or whatever.
Yeah. Being able to take compliments is good without thinking, starting to believe the hype that people are throwing at you, because then once you start thinking that you're the best, start believing people who are like, oh, you're the best at this, you're the best,
you get distracted.
Well, then you stop growing. I just think you stop growing as a musician. Don't let other people tell you that, what you're doing, you're wasting your time doing whatever it is that you're happy doing at that moment. Like, I get a lot of people who are like, what are you doing at this bar playing covers? And I'm like, well, hey, I'm this is what I want to be doing. Fame is not, should not be the goal. The goal should be to have fun doing what you're doing, and doing it as well as you can, and showing up on time and making sure you have good gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being on top is one thing, and being at rock bottom is another. But it's always good to be right there in the middle, because when you're on top, there's only one place you can go, and that's down.
Yeah, I feel like the musicians that and the artists that I like. That have just stood the test of time and lasted are mainly artists who never considered fame as their goal. It was always like, I just want to make awesome, I want to write great songs, and I want to play music, and that's what I want to do.
Well, elaborate. Like who? Who are you talking about?
Look at, Rush obviously isn't playing anymore, but look at a band like Rush. They were together 40-something years. The Stones, 40, they've been together, what, like 50 years now? More?
I don't think there's enough math for that.
Yeah, there's not enough math as Stones. But, more recent, like, Pearl Jam, they've been, a lot of people don't realize how long they've been together and how deep their catalog is.
Let's not forget Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen.
John Fogerty, Mike Ness. I mean, and, the older they get, their songs get better because they live life and have more to tell,
Yeah. And they just had a passion to do what they did, and then the accolades, the attention came along with that, and the money came along with that. But it was always about the music, always about being an artist.
So if someone goes their whole life and that's their motto, and they get to the end of it and they're not hireable anymore, they're looking at the mirror and they're thinking, what was this all about? That you would say that person is in a good space still, right? Is that what you're saying? I mean, like, even though they may not have reached the top, but that's still a level of success there to be found, right?
Yeah, I think your level of success is all about your perspective on it, I mean, if you base what you're doing on whether or not, you have a ton of followers on something, or whether or not you're at a level of fame that you want to be at, then you're always going to be disappointed. And that is in no way saying like you should lower your expectations. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, it's all about your perspective on what you want to be doing and where you want to be as a performer, as an artist. Like, if these guys who've been around here, like Ronnie Johnson, been, just around here playing songs forever, like he's in the Low Country Music Hall of Fame. He's also in like some kind of South Carolina Music Hall of Fame, and he's still doing it, and he still loves doing it. And he's happy where he's at. He doesn't need any more than that.
He even ran a club for a long time.
Yeah.
And still was able to perform around town, and it's kind of cool.
So let's talk about running clubs back in the days. What are some clubs you guys might miss?
How long is this program? Is it just going to be an hour?
As long as you want it to be.
Okay, cool. Because there's a lot of them.
Well, I've only been here 10 years, so I can only speak for a few.
Lots changed in 10 years. Like, I kind of miss Johnson's. You were talking about Johnson's before. That was
I think that's where we met, actually.
Yeah,
Johnson's Pub. Or did we meet? I think we met at the Roadhouse.
Oh man, that was a long time.
I think I met
ago.
you guys on a set break.
Yeah.
And we were outside chatting, and I was like, who's this band with a badass horn section playing at Roadhouse? It was a bunch of these cats from West Virginia, and I'm like, what? These guys sound like they're from Augusta, Georgia, or
we got that a lot back then. Yeah. I miss that guy. Actually, we had Jeremy Carter was our trombone player. He went back to West Virginia.
That was actually an old venue back in the day. It was a lot of artists back in the 50s or 60s would perform there, during like the civil rights era. Like Little Richard and Chuck Berry.
Where the Roadhouse is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sand Dollar as well. The Folly Beach Pier back in the 60s, James Brown and Joe Tex, the Clarence Carter, Chubby Checker, a lot of those artists used to play in those clubs. And it's, because the thing is, like, downtown, that was where, Folly Beach had like, that was like a lot of the spots where those artists would perform. It was actually kind of cool, the history, even where Remley's Point is in Mount Pleasant. There was a poster I saw not too long ago, and it had like, it was basically like all the early like pioneers of rock and roll music would perform there, R&B and soul and all that. But yeah, clubs back in the day, there's so many of them. And you could catch like a touring band on a Tuesday playing in a pizza joint on King Street, But I would have to say the old Cumberland's on Cumberland Street was a legendary. I mean, I would go see Mike Watt or Carl Denson or.
That place was on its way out whenever I moved to town, I think.
Colonel Bruce
the last
Hampton.
Couple years,
Yeah, well, they relocated to King Street where the old, there was like an old hippie store.
Oh, yeah, right.
Granny's Goodies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cumberland's the Radio Room, Music Farm when it was locally owned before it became a Live Nation venue. The Warehouse, which was owned by Steve Carroll, which is he's opened up a lot of venues in Charleston over the years, and he would like build them up, and then he would start a new venture or whatever.
Isn't he running Saltwater Cowboys?
I'm not sure who's running that particular
I think,
venue.
well, I don't know. Steve was there when we went over there and played. Anyways, continue, sir.
Continue, sir.
You got on your journey. You were on a journey.
But yeah, there's so many of them. Captain Harry's, that's where Coast is downtown. But I mean, that was just a place where, like international artists or bands would come play there on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. It was completely different then. It seemed like, post pandemic, it was, a lot of clubs that they either couldn't survive with the liquor liability laws and all that. But there's so many clubs that back in the day that would, because now like Poorhouse is like the main hub for like touring bands and local, regional, and touring
original
bands.
Music a lot.
Original
in general, sure, yeah, definitely.
And, like Music Farm has turned into a Live Nation venue, but like back in the day, it was like, you would get a touring band and they would have like a local group be the opening act. But now local groups get pushed aside because they don't, the Live Nation doesn't give like local musicians or artists the time of day.
Yeah,
they're looking at the numbers.
They're looking at these numbers.
Well, that's okay. They're overlooking some real good talent then, if that's the case, because this town's got a lot of that. Do you think that the Charleston of today is as artistically active as it was back in those days?
Yeah.
It seemed to me like, especially when I moved here 10 years ago, that the original, there were far more original bands happening around here. Like it was, that's what I really felt like, this camaraderie, like kind of everybody kind of supported each other.
Sure.
I mean, you had what was it, Gaslight Street, Dead 27s,
Ridden Troubadour.
Yeah,
Guilt-Ridden Troubadour. What was Slayton's band?
The Traveling Kind.
Traveling Kind.
Oh yeah,
yeah. There was just so many cool bands, that I really liked, and really like going to watch all those bands. Really, maybe want to be more and more part of that kind of scene, and I was really grateful to start the band that I did when, not long after I moved here, and to have that support system of musicians all around that all kind of wanted to play together. But I think there's a lot less of that. There's actually, I would feel like there's a lot more guys like me around town, like solo acoustic artists playing
there's a lot
covers.
It's good money.
There's good money in it.
Yeah, it's money. Well, the thing is like, what I've noticed is like, there's a lot more like solo and duo stuff like that. And there's, you could do a lot of that, and keep busy. Sometimes it's good to be in a room with, 4 or 5 of your friends, and it's sometimes it's not about the money. There's this guitar player, singer, you play with him, Zach Quillen.
Oh yeah,
me and
he's
him
on the show. Yeah,
we would have discussions about that, and he says, yeah, when you're taking a gig, it's like 3 different dynamics. It's 3-dimensional. It's like, number 1, it's always about the music first and foremost. Number 2, and this is very important, it's about the hang. Who you're playing with. It's like you get along, y'all are friends.
part of the chemistry.
Chemistry. Yeah. And number 3, it's about the money. And if I get offered a gig and the music sucks and the pay is good, but the hang sucks, I'm like, yeah, more than likely I'm going to sit this one out. But if it's 2 of the 3, now we're talking.
Right.
But sometimes,
I like that.
You get all 3, but as long as it's 2 out of the 3, and that's pretty important.
Yeah. That's a good guiding light.
I feel like if you get the hang, like you get with a bunch of musicians that you're like, oh, these are all cool guys and they're pro guys, the music's gonna come. The music's gonna come from that.
Seems like a base expectation. The music,
and then it's just like
if everything else is okay.
In that instance, well, depending on where you are financially as an artist, is the money is the last thing. Obviously the money's the last thing. Like you're not okay. Well, I'm only going to get $100. Whatever, I don't care. I'm playing with these guys. It's going to be a good time.
Having some fun in the music is good.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's my thing. Is like you should be having fun doing what you're doing.
Speaking of having fun and making good music, let's take a break and listen to Hans's new song, We All Do, that he recently recorded with Graham Worley in Graham's studio. Take a listen.
I may never be an Olympic gold medalist. I may never be black belt in Kung Fu. I believe in seeing all the best in us. I got problems, yeah, we all do. I may never reach the summit of Mount Everest, or walk through ancient temples in Peru. One day I'll eventually return to dust. I got problems, hell we all do. I'm not trying to invent some new technology or walk upon the surface of the moon. Maybe I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. I got problems, hell we all do. Pain don't scare me like it did before. Let go of the things I didn't need. Got time to walk away, but think there could be more. Mistakes are sometimes opportunities. I may never own a great big fancy motor car or sail around the seven oceans blue. Try hard and I might only get so far. I got problems, hell we all do. I may never be a big time as a movie star. Hollywood is better bound to choose. Sky just the roadmap leading us to where we are. I got problems, hell we all do. You got problems, hell we all do. I got problems, hell we all do.
The guest on the last show was Stratton Moore. Y'all know Stratton, right? He asked a question that I thought maybe you guys might want to take a crack at.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be good.
How do you deal with tourists that come up to you and demand you play what they want?
Oh,
You know what? I saw this online a couple weeks ago. I think he was posting that question online too, and there's a lot of variety there. John, what do you think?
My new how I would approach that situation is, can you speak louder? I cannot hear you. The tip bucket is getting in the way. Or
That's friendlier than I thought. That's still friendly though. That's positive.
there was like some of these Americana guys that I'd played with about 10 years ago. I'm not going to say any names. Pretty good. Music's good and everything. But we're not playing that song or whatever. And I've been working with King Yellowman. He's a Grammy-nominated reggae artist, and he's one of these artists that like he'll do blues, reggae, rock and roll. He kind of incorporates all different genres of music in his show, and I guess he did a version of Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill, and he hasn't really played that song in a long time, but this lady kept coming up to him demanding that he plays the song. And this is one of the coolest things that I ever heard. And Hans has probably even heard me say this before, but it's like, we have an airtight set and we really don't take requests, but I will personally guarantee you 100% satisfaction. And, so, Hans and I are doing a cuddle shock thing. Sometimes we get someone that requests like, they want to hear, what every other band plays when you walk down King Street. You'll hear Valerie and you'll hear Tennessee Whiskey and Wagon Wheel and all that, and it's like kind of what we do is something, even though we're playing a lot of cover songs, we try to keep things interesting. We'll switch gears, like, someone will request like a George Jones song, and I look over at Hans, and then next thing you know, it's like we just transform, and do like stuff like that. But if it's a good request, sometimes if someone approaches us and says, yeah, can you guys take requests? I'm like, yeah, if they're good ones. Or if it's something that, that you never heard before. But the thing is, like, folks come out now and they're like, play something we know. I'm like, well, what are you doing out in public? Once you stay at home.
Stay at home. Let's do it in your fucking system. Yeah.
When you come out, you should broaden your horizons and come out and maybe you could hear something you never heard before. Maybe you can hear us do a George Jones song and be like, oh, I really like that song. And the next thing you know, like, you go out and buy a couple of his records.
What about you, Hans? Well, how do you interact with the?
I have
The hoi polloi.
I have several tactics that I employ. Usually, what I find weird sometimes is the person will come up and they'll show you the bill that they're putting in your tip jar, like
Sweetening the pot.
This is a $10 bill, or like they, it's something low,
right?
Like five is probably the lowest you can go, where you can be like, "Here's $5."
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, geez, $5. I can finally get my mom that operation she needs. And then they feel like they own you, or you have to do their song next. And I'll say, hey, I'll play it if I know it, or if it's like something that I don't want to do, like one of those standards, like Valerie or Tennessee Whiskey. I get Tennessee Whiskey a lot. I'll be like, oh man, I don't do that one, or I don't know that one. And a lot of the times you'll get the response, you'll be like, oh, come on, man, you know that song.
You know that song.
You know that song.
So then what do? Do you up the ante, or you just continue with the nice guy act? 'Cause I don't know if you're always the nice guy act.
I think people correlate. Well, I mean, you got to be nice, otherwise you get this reputation. Especially, tourists, I could give a shit. I don't. Whatever. You're gonna be leaving town, and you can go back to wherever the fuck you came from and be like, this guy at this bar was an asshole. And so I don't. Usually, I'm a little bit more bold with tourists, but they correlate, like, you having heard the song with knowing how to play that song. I'm like, I have heard of that song, but I don't know how to play it. I don't know all the words. I don't know all the chords. I'm sorry, I don't know that song. And if they persist, they're like, come on, man, you know that song. I'll be like, yes, I do know that song. I just hate you.
And for what it would cost me to play this song, you probably can't afford it.
Well, there you go.
Or you tap the tip.
But what I've noticed that the clubs really appreciate is, like, if you say, oh yeah, that song's the last song on our set. So they have to stick around the whole night and spend money, and then you never play it.
Yeah. By the end of the night, they're drunk anyway. But
yeah, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. If you're up front interrupting a band having a conversation about songs, you've probably had a few anyway. Typically, right?
Man, last night I really had to bite my tongue last night, because there was this guy that showed up to an Operation Irie show at the Poorhouse, and it was the band was cranking. and everything was cool. But this guy kept putting like $20 bills in our tip jar. He must have put $200 in our tip jar last night.
Nice.
But he kept requesting Bob songs, and I was like, I was like, all right. And I was like, okay, every Bob Marley song we're going to play is going to be an abbreviated version. We're just going to play like a short version. Because, it's like with Operation Irie, we do everything. We do the opposite of what a lot of local reggae groups do.
Makes sense. But do you guys do any culture?
Actually, we do, of course.
You turned me on to culture years ago, man. It's really turned into a huge band for me.
Yeah, great. Yeah, great late Joseph Hill.
Yeah, man.
Good songwriter and great musician, great arrangements.
Great lyrics.
Yeah, very potent lyrics.
Yeah.
That kind of goes along with something also that I find, like, you have somebody who's like, oh man, I love reggae music, and then they just keep requesting one artist over and over and over again. You're like,
you don't like reggae music. You like Bob Marley.
Yeah, you like Bob Marley,
which is fine.
Or I'll have somebody come up and be like, oh, can you play such and such an artist? And I'll be like, yeah, of course. And then I'll play a song by that artist, and then they'll come back and they'll be like, can you please play a song by the same artist? I'm like, I just did. And they're like, what?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Which means they only know one song by that artist. Yeah. Oh, I only know that one song. Or like, can you play something to dance to? Or can you play some country music? And I'm like, I don't know.
What kind of dancing do you mean? Slam dancing?
Yeah, I don't know what I just said, I'll tell people, like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what that means.
There you go.
Yeah, the next time I think someone requests play something we could dance to, we're going to do Caught in a Mosh by Anthrax. See what happens.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
That's old school right there. You just pulled out some old school thrash right there. That's great. What is authentic in an artist that you like? Like, how do you know authenticity when you hear it or see it or experience it? What is it about an artist that is like, that is an authentic person? That is something worth listening to?
Someone that tells a life story, writes their own songs, their own arrangements. When you hear them sing the song, you believe it. It's not like what I see a lot of times coming out of Nashville is like you'll have like a really good singer, and then there's a writer that you never met before or never heard of before, but then they call this an artist, like an artist that actually sings and writes their own material.
Right.
The story they tell.
The story that they tell. What about you, Hans? What makes for an authentic artist?
Yeah, probably somebody who's just like, it's just something you hear. You just hear like this rawness and I couldn't really put my finger on it, to be honest.
It's not an academic thing, then it's just a feeling, or because I kind of feel the same way. Actually. Yeah, I don't really know how to quantify something that I really like.
I think, again, that's another one of those, like, it's about perspective, from your own perspective, what you find to be authentic. I think a lot of people think that they find something to be authentic, and it turns out that's not what it is at all. Another person would be like, it's kind of bullshit, actually, if you think about it. But yeah, like, I don't know, you just hear, they're not trying to be something they're not, They're not trying to sing in a way that it sounds forced, like they're trying to make their voice sound a certain way.
Staying in their lane in a way.
Yeah. That's
interesting.
I would say that. Yeah, like they can take any song and make it their own.
Right.
Yeah, you can own it.
Yeah.
So I know that you play drums for a lot of different bands. Do you sit down to the kit and think, I'm in this genre, I'm willing to approach the drums in this way, or do you kind of just?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny because like there's a lot of drummers that are the same drummer for every artist that they play with, and I kind of like take the approach that, okay, when I work with a new artist, I'm going to pretend like I've never played drums before in my life. It's kind of like the way that Mitch Mitchell approaches playing with Jimi Hendrix. If Jimi Hendrix was to play drums, it's the way that Mitch Mitchell would play. You know, it's like when I was working with Danielle Howe, you know, it was like, it was like a learning experience for me, because the way that she wanted the drums to sound to complement her songwriting, it was funny because like I would show up to, you know, rehearsal or show up to gigs and she would ask me like to tune the drums a certain kind of way. And I was like, nah, this is the way I tune my drums. But the thing is how you respect the song and the arrangement. I would show up to gigs sometimes and, you know, we would do our sound check and, you know, we'd run down the street and rip a couple of shots or grab some dinner or something. I'd come back and I'd sit behind my drums and there would be like quarters taped to my cymbals. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't mean to go off the range, but, you know.
Please do. That's why we're here.
Been like a big fan of the Black Crowes for a long time. And Steve Gorman is not included in the new tour. So it's just not the Black Crowes, because the way that Steve Gorman plays drums is the same way that Chris Robinson sings. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like when you listen to like the Faces or the Stones or you know, groups like that, who the Black Crowes kind of modeled themselves after. It's like the Rolling Stones replacing Charlie Watts.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, when you step into a situation, you have to dress, even though I don't really dress up for the gig that much, you know, but musically, your mentality, you have to kind of play to the occasion. It's like if you get called, you're a guitar player and you get called to do a country gig, you're not going to show up with a BC Rich Warlock. You're going to show up with a Telecaster. And,
but you could, though.
oh, yeah, but actually, if you show up with a BC Rich Warlock, you mean business.
I would say that's pretty badass, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I just understand what you're saying, though, but that would be a badass move to go.
But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when you're working with somebody, you have to, you know, kind of just erase everything that you know and be like, okay, well, if I was to play with you, like you're the artist and you're the singer, and I would show up and like, Hop, you know, send me some material, I want to listen to it. And then, you know, I'm going to just forget everything that I know and show up and be like, how would Hop want the drums on this one? I'm showing up to do, I'm going to be playing some gigs with Jared Petty's and the Headliners, and I've been really more coming from like blues-based rock and roll. You know, it's like I kind of have an idea, but when I do this string of shows with him in the next couple of weeks, it's like I'm listening to Willie Cantu or DJ Fontana, Elvis's drummer, or Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats, and that's all I'm going to listen to for like 2 weeks before the gig. You know, everything else just kind of gets put to the side because that's...
you're understanding the feel.
I want to understand the feel, like the muscle memory and like the tonality and everything like that. And just kind of respect the gig, you know, respect the genre, because it's a very pure genre of music. You know, rockabilly, or, you know, if you're doing Bakersfield country or any other style of music, you kind of, you know, have to get into that mind frame.
What about for a singer? How do you interpret that?
Well, you know,
it seems like, I don't know if you could... Do you bring your voice to everything? I mean, how do you do that?
No, you know, I was going to say that when you're playing an instrument, I think it's probably a lot easier to conform yourself to a certain style of music. But when you're talking about vocals, I mean, I know I said earlier, like, don't let other people pigeonhole you. Like, I get pigeonholed a lot, but it's also, there are just like some kinds of music that my voice is just not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Right, you're born with what you got.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
I think there's a level of like we were talking about, authenticity that a drummer and a bass player can get by with, but a singer might not be able to.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously I know how I can conform myself to a certain song that I already know. Like I can, you know, like JP was saying, you know, we do so many, I would go from like The Police and Adele to George Jones. But I think when you're talking about an original piece of music, I can't do that. Like I can't sing pop and I can't force a country voice if I don't feel like, you know, it's going to sound, it just sounds like I'm forcing it. And that's not authentic to me.
So, songwriting. Y'all know Julie Sonlecki from Sexbruise?
Yeah.
She had a question too, and I thought it was pretty interesting to bring that up as we're talking about songwriting.
What part of the process of music kind of gives you that spark? Is that the creation, like the moment of creation of a song idea, or is it like on the performance side in the moment?
It was a fun interview. I can't wait for you guys to hear when it comes out. But what do you guys think about that?
I would say like both of those aspects. Like it's great, especially like when you sit and you write a song and you get the idea and then you play it out, bringing it to a band, bring it to somebody else, and having it turn out the way you hear it in your head, having everybody like understand where you're coming from with the song, or even throwing something in there that you didn't think of that makes the song better, and then performing it live and getting a reaction back from people, the same reaction you got when you wrote that song is, I mean, man, I wish I could do that forever, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wish we could bottle that up, right?
Oh yeah.
What do you think, John?
In terms of writing a song,
Yeah.
more melody, less chops.
More melody, less chops. Explain a little bit.
Well, just, a song that you can whistle, like the melody, but something that you can sing. Is you can't really sing chops, but like something that just sticks in your head, and it's like, it kind of grows on you. And if you're, writing like a pop song, it's like, what do they say? Don't bore us, get to the chorus, the hook.
Yeah.
But, for like folk music, you really don't get that. And that's some of the most powerful music, but it just really depends on the genre of music you're going for. But melody has always been, when it comes to like writing a song, once you have the melody, then everything just kind of falls in place.
Keeping it catchy.
Catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also like, I think the combination of the melody and that one really awesome line in a song that
On the lyrics, you mean?
Yeah,
Or
the lyrically,
the
just go. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
man, that's so good.
Yeah. Anything that we could talk about about maybe how we can make Charleston a better musical community? Any ideas about that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Do you want to go first on this one, buddy?
Why don't you go first? I'm going to marinate on this one for a second.
And I don't need to we don't need to go in like a huge autopsy of this town that we all like this town. I'm sure we have no real complaints.
Love it.
Yeah.
No.
But I'm just saying if we could improve in some way, what will be a way that we could do that?
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I would say that the musicians in this town are on the right track, and we're in a very, very good place musically. The only thing that I think that would make this town a little bit better is fighting what is fighting us, which is the noise ordinances, the liquor liability laws, which there's a lot of like, locally owned businesses that are getting caught in a crossfire.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
You're talking about Folly a little bit here too, right?
I mean, Hans and I have friends in Greenville.
Okay. All right.
Statewide.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that. I ain't gonna lie. Could you explain a little bit?
Okay. Well, I mean, I have been, aware of and kind of, off in an offhand way connected with a group called the South Carolina Venue Crisis, and it's really was started in the upstate out of the owner of this bar called Tribble's, Ken Tribble, and a group of people up there who really saw this coming, that liquor liability premiums have doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
Did they give you any reasons why, or they just are greedy people trying to get more money?
There was it really is. It was a law passed by the state legislature, mostly, ambulance chaser lawyers that said that every bar had to have $1 million worth of liquor liability insurance, and not only that, they're all equally liable if an accident happens where the person was intoxicated, every bar that person went to is equally liable for no matter how many, like if a guy came and had one drink
at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then,
oh, wow. There's not even a time limit? It's the whole day?
By 10 o'clock, he's hammered and gets into an accident and kills somebody. Now everybody is equally liable. And so what that did was caused a bunch of these liquor liability insurance companies to pull out of the state, which only left a few, and now rates have gone up. I mean, you ask just about any restaurant or venue owner in the state, and they're going to be like, yeah, my premiums have gone up. Some of them gotten lucky and found an insurer that will give them a good rate, but most of them are really taking a huge hit.
Or if they're under like an umbrella, say for instance, like there's a restaurant group or some kind of group, or they have like 4 or 5 different bars or venues or whatever, and they're all umbrellaed under one rate, but just like a locally owned, business. And I didn't really know much about this until, just past April, and what Hans was talking to me about. A lot of venues in Greenville had gotten hit worse than it did here.
Wow.
Because there's some musicians that Hans and I know up in the upstate that are, working musicians that haven't played in 2 months as a result of that. And there's a lot of venues around here that are closing up, or they're having to scale back on the music, or they're going to have to close at a certain time because they're getting hit with this. But how to make things better is for like a lot of the musicians, comedians, F&B workers, to all get together to fight that, because the thing is, they're basically taking the culture away that we all love so well.
And that is the name of your company, or the people you're associated with is what again?
The South Carolina Venue Crisis.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
you can look that up online. I think it's South Carolina.
I'll try to put a link on our...
Yeah. I'll give you all the info. I'll even give you a sticker. I've got stickers.
I love stickers.
He's got some festive
I've got some
stickers too.
festive, very festive.
All right.
I would say that a way to improve, I guess, would be for the musicians to kind of look at, and really venue owners to look at what we do as a partnership. I try to tell this to almost every venue that I play at. Like, look, I'm coming here. You're paying me, so you will make a bit more money. Now, my job is not necessarily to bring people to your establishment, but to keep people there drinking. But if you don't do well, I don't do well.
Right.
And that's what I really loved about. I really felt like the Charleston music scene kind of like took me in when I moved here, and I really like, it's very humbling to go from playing in the upstate for 15 years and having a name and people know who I was, to coming here and having no one really know who I was at all, and kind of having to start from scratch, and I was like, this is my 40s.
Kind of a similar situation for me too when I got here.
Yeah,
maybe not to the extent or whatever, but yeah, it was a reformatting, which was kind of nice though. So I got to kind of cut off some dead ends of things I didn't want to do anymore too. And I
would say to the Charleston musicians, once you start getting a little recognition here, please don't move to Nashville. Stop moving to Nashville. Don't do that.
We've got a lot of studios here. We've got a lot of venues here. We've got a lot of reasons to stay here.
Yes, some great studios here.
Yeah.
And I would love to work at all of them.
Yeah, me too. I love being in the studio, man. It's my favorite thing.
But I find that's like a mistake that a lot of artists I've seen make. Maybe they've gone to Nashville and, been successful, but it's like, stay where you are and help make your music scene the Nashville of, wherever you are, instead of just going somewhere where everybody is trying to do the same exact thing that you're doing and then not even getting paid for it.
If you're going to be a big fish, it's better to be in a small pond. I'm not speaking on personal experience, but, doing the Nashville thing, going up there, I mean, there's you're just going to go into debt pretty much.
You're such a big fish.
But you'll get to say you went to Nashville.
No, I'm not.
You're such a huge fish.
I did the Nashville thing. I went up there, experimented with some things, and was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get any work here unless I just completely sell out, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I've actually had people tell me, like, you should go to Nashville and work for
Nashville
tips.
should come to me.
And work for tips. I'm like, what? Why would I go?
Well, I mean, Nashville's a good place to go visit and maybe spend some time, take some notes, and see how some of these artists carry themselves, musicians. And there's a whole different level of professionalism up there than it is here because, musicians up there are constantly trying to get work. And, I would say that probably 25% of the gigs that I get down here, I get the day of because like the drummer has an ingrown toenail or something. A drummer can't play tonight. It's like somebody's birthday or something. Oh, okay, cool. I'll go play. But up there, it's like, you basically sacrifice and rearrange your whole life to do that. Because the thing is like, if you think you're good, there's 100 guys out there that are way better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about in Nashville or here?
Yeah, no,
or both
Nashville.
even?
Nashville.
Yeah,
I would say
sure.
I'd liken it to like this huge box filled with bags of Fritos. Like here, you can always go to that box and get a bag. But when you go to Nashville, you better get your ass over to that box really quick before somebody else snags your bag of chips.
Very cutthroat.
And that's what I love about here is like I can find work anywhere. I don't have to go into competition with any of my peers here. I have plenty of musician friends who would be more than happy to help me get a gig at some place that they're already playing because they know like I'm not threatening. I'm not taking money out of their hands to get that gig because
there's enough to go around.
Yeah, and there's a ton of musicians here, and I mean it really says a lot that there's so many venues and so many musicians here, and yet there's still more than enough work to go around for everyone.
I don't mean to sound generic, but I really wish a lot of the younger musicians were able to see what we saw back in the day. Because the thing is, because now, I mean, a lot of the working musicians, are playing more restaurant venues and weddings and stuff like that. But to play in like a dive bar, back in those days where
you had to grind it,
and it was a grind. But I mean, the thing was like you could play every single night of the week and not get in the way of another venue.
I think that's so important as an up-and-coming musician is to go and play those places for like 4 people and be out there just putting 110% into every song that you're playing, even though there's only 4 people in there. Because 1, you never know who is sitting there. And 2, like, I'll give you an example. Like I was recently forced to kind of have to watch The Voice, which I don't care to watch those shows.
Why were you forced to watch?
It was over Thanksgiving. I was at my in-laws. That's what they were. That's what they were watching.
Yeah.
But one of the girls on that show was super nervous about going and performing because she'd never done that, and I'm just like that's such a huge part of being an artist is having that experience, like just going out there and confidently, whether it's 10,000 people or 10 people, you gotta have that under your belt to have any kind of character
and develop confidence too.
Yeah.
Like that.
Derek Cribb, we have JPDC, and it's funny because we talk about it, and like people will come up to us, be like, "Yeah, I've always wanted to get into music," or "How do you get good?" I was like, first and foremost, you have to get out there and suck.
Yeah.
You have to get out there and bomb.
Boldly suck.
Or like Levon Helm said in The Last Waltz, it's like, yeah, when we go play in a different city, say we went to play in New York City, we got our asses kicked. We healed, we left, we came back, got our asses kicked again. Left, healed, came back, and then we kicked their ass. It's, the thing is you got to, it's not just something, it's not instant gratification. You have to get out there and you have to take a risk. And, it's like when you're like, being a solo acoustic, you're holding your own hand, and just live without a net. And you got to learn how to fall. It's like skateboarding. The art, skating is one thing, but the falling is an art form. And how to handle that and how to get back up, you have to learn how to fall.
Why do we fall, JP?
I don't know.
So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again.
Anything you guys would like to play on the show? Like any of your music that you'd like for me to play?
Some of the stuff that I did with the Destinators is, pretty good material. And, yeah.
Back in the moment of my youth, was caught up in the weakness. No, I jumped twice, there was no one in my life, but I was losing my uniqueness. I say, loosen up your mind, do me a favor. Oh, loosen up your mind, do me a favor. No, loosen up your mind, do me a favor. Oh, yeah, loosen up your mind, do me a favor. Alright. No. Oh, young one, you're drowning. All the dark skies won't last forever, no. I wish you smile, stop frowning. After this is done, you will be thankful. I say, loosen up your mind, do me a favor. Oh, yeah, loosen up your mind, do me a favor, yeah, no. Loosen up your mind, do me a favor. Loosen up your vibe, do me a favor. Do me a wash it clean, wash it clean, wash it clean, yeah. Alright, wash it clean, wash it clean, wash it clean, yeah. Oh, yeah. Loosen up your mind, loosen up your mind, loosen up your vibe, oh, loosen up your vibe.
So Hans, your band 86ers, you have a song that you want to hear from it that we could share with the audience here?
Yeah, maybe. One of my favorites from those old 86ers days is Kentucky State Line.
Kentucky State Line.
Yeah, that's probably a song that I wrote that I'm most proud of with that.
What do you like about it?
That I set out to write a song about a certain thing, and it turned out better than I hoped.
Okay.
And I did like internet research and shit for that song.
Damn.
So it could be so authentic. It's about moonshining.
Let the corn grow as high as it'll go. We'll cook up some lightning and my granddaddy still got a 51 Ford with a bed full of shine. And the law on our tail when we cross the Kentucky state line. It's desperate measures for desperate times. I gotta make a living, take care of mine. My family has lived by this creek for so long. And if you wanna do right, you gotta do wrong. So step on the gas, put it down to the floor till mama too ready I'll build. If we don't make it back, I know she might find us doing time in the Clay County jail. Let the corn go as high as it'll go. We'll pick up some lightning and my granddaddy still got 51 Ford with a bed full of shine. And the law on our tail when we cross the Kentucky state line. It's an old family method going back to the war, passed down to my daddy and his daddy before. I've been here in these hills since before I could crawl, just running our shine and ducking the law. So step on the gas, 'cause the bullets are flying. Grab the shotgun that's down on the floor. Oh, well, I've spent enough of my life in the pen and I ain't going back anymore. Let the corn roll as high as it'll go. Cook up some lightning and my granddaddy still got a 51 Ford with a bed full of shine. When the law on our tail when we cross the Kentucky state line. Na, 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 na. And the laws on our tail when we cross. The laws on our tail when we cross. All the laws on our tail when we cross the Kentucky state line. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na.
All right, well, guys, we're going to have to leave it at that.
All right.
As we often say, you don't have to go home, but you
Can't stay here.
can't stay
here.
Well, actually, you can because this is your house.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Thanks for having us, Hans.
Hey,
Yeah,
no problem.
thanks a lot, man. I'd like to thank Hans and John once again for their time and for sharing their knowledge and experiences with us. And as always, I'd like to thank Charleston's music community for making this city so special, such an interesting place to live and work. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks. Please be sure to drop in again. Goodbye for now.